Hi guys, Harry here, and the first special of Jodie and Chris's farewell specials has recently come out, and it wasn't a great episode as I'm feeling it, but it also wasn't a bad episode. There's a lot of people I've seen on social media, Twitter and YouTube saying that they dislike it and they like it. I'm more, as I've just said, disliking it, but that doesn't mean it's a bad episode. There are a lot worse, like Fear Her and The Beast Below, which are kind of to mean I wouldn't want to rewatch them. But this is a rewatchable episode, as I have rewatched it to see what I haven't in the first ones. But I think this is my first review of an episode. As I didn't do it on the Flux, I just deep dived into certain parts in the episode, but first review. But before we get into the review, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, and also comment down below. And let's get into the video. So it opens on Alf's storage. Nice festive thing, even though it's actually South storage, it's just the S fell off. But anyway, we see Nick enter, see Sarah, and she's mad with Jeff because he should be working instead of her. But Nick comes in every New Year's Eve because this is the time when he knows Sarah will be here, like we find out eventually, and he's into Sarah. He wants to see her here, and obviously Jeff always does this every year. It's mentioned by Sarah that it's kind of a tradition that Jeff doesn't show up when he's supposed to. And it's kind of funny because Sarah has her silent is broken on her phone, so she can't turn it to silent. And we've all been there, especially when we were just 1 year away or a couple of years away, people saying, "Oh yeah, this New Year's party was great. I got to drink loads." And it's not obviously I am not that old, so I haven't been to a party where I am allowed to drink on New Year's because I'm not old enough. Also, I don't really like alcohol, but it's not about me anyway. It's about Sarah. Sarah wants to go out partying, wants to drink alcohol, wants to have fun with her friends. I'm sure you know the feeling, as I said, you're a year away or a couple of years away, or you just don't feel you don't feel like you can be funny with your friends, you don't feel 100%, so you decide not to go, but you keep getting messages being "Oh, this is the best night ever." But Nick isn't for partying, so there's a kind of funny interaction between Sarah and Nick. Sarah kind of just shrugs him off and he's a bit sad about it, but we see him go to his storage unit, put Monopoly out and write a little note, and it's obviously we find out later it's his ex-girlfriend's, but he gets exterminated extremely quickly by the Dalek, goes up to find Sarah, she gets exterminated pretty quickly. The Doctor, Yaz and Dan need to fix the TARDIS because she's reducing the doors to only one. A great visual of them running out the TARDIS and it all imploding or exploding or doing something. It's an amazing visual. And the TARDIS is cracking red. That's the big mystery of the TARDIS cracking red. I mean, really, did we need that in the trailer? As it was a simple explanation, could have been spent on something else to market it. But as they said before, this is there's not going to be any explanation into the Division Flux, the Doctor's past in this episode, which there wasn't. But I feel since they were putting it as a standalone one, could have been a lot more fun. Rose. Rose is a fun episode. The 11th Hour, that's fun. New Earth, that's fun. Robot of Sherwood is fun. All these episodes, they're fun, and they're not really connected to the big one. Rose is kind of a bit more, as well as the 11th Hour. But they're kind of really standalone episodes, and yet they're fun. This one isn't so much fun. As I said, there's worse episodes, but as I've just stated, there's also much better episodes. Anyway, the Doctor takes out her Sonic because obviously they're in Manchester in a storage basement, not where they were supposed to be on a nice beach. Sonics it. She doesn't need to Sonic it. She could just do what Matt Smith and David Tennant have done, like lick a pole or lick her finger, test like her surroundings with her finger, like do what they've done. They've done that before and they've been like, they know exactly where they are. Doctor, you don't need to grab out your Sonic for every single time. Again, to the Sonic, there's a trigger of a temporal disturbance. We could have had a scream from Sarah or Nick. Just saying, Sarah or Nick screaming would have been a better use than Sonic telling them something is wrong. Anyway, they go to investigate, and we see Nick dies 4 minutes to midnight. And that is notified by Sarah's mum calling, but then I've said Sarah is quickly exterminated. Sarah is quickly exterminated first time, it's time loop. The Doctor takes out the Sonic to show that Nick is dead. I mean, she's the Doctor, I know it's the name she chose, but seriously, the Doctor? Check the pulse. I mean, even David Tennant had a stethoscope in his era. I mean, even just pull that out of your pocket. We know you have magical pockets that are bigger on the inside. Stethoscope in there, just... like, I mean, you don't need the Sonic. Again, just, like, touch, like, his rib cage, like, where... like, because it's seen before that, by doing that, they... like, I think the 7th Doctor did it, and he knows that because of just that it was a Dalek that killed him. Why couldn't Jodie do that? Anyway, they go into the reception and we see Jodie, the Doctor, Yaz and Dan go into the reception and being like, oh no, Sarah's dead too, and them getting shortly exterminated by the Dalek. And then title sequence, which kind of leaves it on a cliffhanger, even though it's only short-lived, obviously, because title sequence, and then it's a loop round, but it starts to the start, but a little bit ahead. Like, Nick and Sarah are already in conversation with each other, and the Doctor, Yaz and Dan are already out the TARDIS. So 1 minute has already gone, and I think that's a good use of it, like, to show that it's not exactly a loop and how the episode will close out. We also see Sarah's mum again calling her, because obviously she's like, the lines will be dead the closer to midnight. Lines will be busy the closer to midnight, so I won't get to call you. Sarah's like, you will. And again, it's like notifying like Nick's death, which I think is good. Because Sarah's mum phone calls Kate for two things. To start off, it's to signify Nick has died, and then at the end, it's like the save of the episode, like to show that, you know, it like that's how the Doctor saves the day. Unfortunately, they both die pretty quickly. Sarah discovers Jeff has a whole stash of stuff that, well, is basically everything that shouldn't be in a storage unit, which she listed off to Nick at the start, which can't go. Like, beef and beans, animals dead and alive. Well, dead, but she's saying can't have animals dead or alive. And, like, radiation, like if you set fire to this, it will explode, or will it have potentially harmful radiation. And again, it's to show that Jeff's stuff can save the day as well. But again, Sarah dies pretty quickly, and again, Nick and Sarah both try the door in this time loop, and that's smart. It proves that they're not just stupid, because they both try the door, and I know it's a bit repetitive, both them seeing it, but we know that they're not just idiots. They're using their brain, like exit, try to get out, unfortunately Dalek force field. And then it's revealed that the Dalek, they're exterminated again, and then in the next loop it is revealed that the Daleks didn't create the time loop. It's because they didn't create the time loop. The TARDIS did, to like save the Doctor, and they meet up again. They finally meet up with Sarah and Nick, and they go into Nick's storage unit, and they're like, "What's the way out?" And he's like, "There isn't. It's a storage unit." And they're like, "Oh, not a great plan." But we see a bit more into Sarah and Nick's relationship. There's a moment between Nick, Yaz, and Sarah where he's like, "Oh, it's all my ex-girlfriends," and they're like, "They're still alive, right?" And he's like, yeah, they're still alive. It's only like a day, and it's like a fun joke, kind of not. But it's not really a big part. It's more to explore Nick and Sarah's relationship. Sarah says, "You're a weirdo. What you doing?" And Nick's like, he's disheartened because you can see that he loves Sarah. So he goes out and he's like, "Spare their lives, just kill me." And they're like, "Well, we'll kill you both. We'll kill you all, sorry." Exterminates Nick, and then the Doctor, again, just like, no. And they're trapped in the storage unit again. And Sarah is like, "Oh no, I love him." And it's kind of like, well, it doesn't say exactly "I love him," but like, "It's all my fault. I wish he was still alive." And it's like, you just said you hated him a second ago. I know it's like, it's not a good thing, and you don't know a good thing until it's gone, but it's kind of like a switch. I mean, it's not really great. Next we find in the next loop, because again the Dalek eventually gets in and kills them all, Nick and Sarah are, Sarah goes to find Nick and save him this time, because the last two times she was just trying to save herself, and she has a plan this time, because she did try to save him but didn't try to save him, but this time she has a plan to save him. Of course it doesn't work out, and she's misled the Doctor, because in the last loop she said, "Fifth floor, there's stuff. Jeff has this loads of stuff that could probably kill this Dalek." And side note, Nick and Sarah call it a robot and don't know what a Dalek is. Dan, when he first sees it, I mean, the Dalek calls him inferior, and he doesn't really know what a Dalek is. Side note, Yaz says pretty smart Dalek. Pretty smart Daleks. When the Dalek calls Dan inferior, that's not nice, Yaz. You spent years with this man. I mean, you should be close friends. That's not nice. I mean, I know a lot of people have been at Dan for exposing the relationship that Yaz has to the Doctor in this episode, which I will get to later on. But I'm glad he outed you, Yaz, if that's what your reaction to him is just all the time. I mean, be nice. Anyway, they don't know what a Dalek is, despite in just Jodie's time as the Doctor, Revolution of the Daleks, and the Flux, all which show Daleks prominently to the humans in the Doctor Who universe, and yet you still don't know what a Dalek is. Are you pulling a Donna? Were you scuba diving the whole time? I mean, you too, Dan. What? Like, why don't you know what a Dalek is? I mean, and I'm not even mentioning any of the stuff in Christopher Eccleston's era, David Tennant's era, Matt Smith's era, or Peter Capaldi's era, because I've known there's been time resets at least going back to Matt Smith's era. But, I mean, there's stuff that happened in Capaldi's era featuring Daleks. I mean, Cybermen more prominently. But it's like, it still counts with Daleks, because, I mean, how can you not know there's aliens, especially Daleks in this. I mean, Chris Chibnall has made the Daleks scary. That is good. He's done something really well. And they've been featured prominently in the specials, yet the humans in the universe still don't know what Daleks are. And again, I'm sorry to say this, Chris, but it's not. You could have made them scary in this episode as well, like a haunted, like, storage unit, and Daleks just, like, suddenly you see, like, you think the characters are fine, they're, like, going through a dark storage unit, they hear a sound, they're like, and then the Dalek eye stalk comes up, lights up from behind, and like, it could have been really scary, really terrifying, but it's just not. Anyway, again, in that time loop, they know that it's a time loop, and Dan says Groundhog Day. They go, Yaz and the Doctor go to investigate Jeff's storage unit, and it's like there's 2 Daleks this time, and Dan is like, I'll distract them, and they're supposed to be the best killing machines in the universe, like merciless, and Dan just runs around the Dalek and it can't shoot him. And again, it's not just that like Dan is too fast, which is stupid anyway. Like, why don't they like have a force field or something that can like shock them if they get too close? Come on. They're supposed to be the best killer machines in the universe, as I've said, but they can't kill one human running around them. Also, they don't know it's a distraction. Like, Dan distracts them for at least a good minute, and they don't know it's a distraction until then. I mean, Dan literally says, took you long enough, didn't it? I mean, they're kind of like stormtroopers. Like, at the start, they're the best shots, can kill anyone. Later on, can't kill them when they're running away from them. Come on, I mean, it's like you kind of work yourself into a corner, build them up as the worst thing in the universe. And yet to let the characters survive, it's plot convenience, really, and it's not good. But anyway, we get into the time loop, and it's like, again, none of them escape, none of them really learn too much from this experience. And the Doctor and Yaz and Dan meet up with Sarah again and say, where were you? You didn't come to Jeff's storage unit to help us. And she's like, yeah, well, I can't talk to you right now anyway. I've got to save Nick, and I was trying to save Nick and myself anyway. And there's a lot of bashing on Sarah for this part, but the Doctor is like, we had a deal. I can fix this. And Sarah's like, well, you haven't. You haven't done much. We've died like 4 times. And a lot of people have, I've seen a lot of, like on social media, hate for Sarah on that. And it's like, I mean, the Doctor in every single scenario, especially like they're trapped in one place scenario, where the Doctor says, trust me, I can get you out of this. And she doesn't deliver on her promise. Sarah's right. The Doctor says trust her, and for most of the people, they trust her, and she lets them down. To be honest, I know it's to show that, it's a bad, like, well, it's like a bad scenario. Like when you're with the Doctor, you will probably die, like with companions. But seriously, I mean, Doctor, when you say trust you, they do, and like, in one of the greatest superheroes, his mantra, with great power comes great responsibility. They trust you. You have a responsibility to get them home safely, especially your companions, and you just don't, they trust you and you let them down, which I think is great that Sarah puts this front and centre. Really good writing from whoever wrote that, hopefully Chris Chibnall, but I mean, a great piece of dialogue there. Also, there's this other great thing where Sarah goes, I need to see Nick, because he doesn't survive past 5 minutes. And next loop, there's not going to be a 5 past. And I think that's great. That could have been like a clock or stopwatch or something with anything to show that. But we only get to see it once with Nick. I mean, it could be nice to see. Anyway, going ahead a couple of ones. Every time we get a new Dalek one, a new Dalek. So there's then from 1 Dalek to 2 Daleks to 3 Daleks. And that is, it's great that there's just not 1 Dalek. And Yaz and the Doctor get confronted by a Dalek, and the Dalek is like, it's your fault that the Dalek war fleet, because even though it was only a Dalek war fleet that was there, instead of all the Daleks, even though it was the end of the universe, anyway, that they died, and it was your fault. And in that part, because we see in the next loop, Nick is confronted by 2 Daleks and ducks, and they fire on each other and kills them. Me and my dad were saying when we were watching this, why doesn't the Doctor and Yaz just duck or move to the side? When Nick, it's shown in the show that could have just happened. They could have just moved to the side to survive. Anyway, going ahead a couple. Sarah is like, oh no, you don't get me this time. Runs into the lift, tries to start it. Dalek shoots the electricity out. Really good, Dalek. Why didn't you do that in the next loops? You could have done that in the next loops. But no, the Dalek doesn't shoot out the electricity, and, they die, unfortunately. Anyway, so we go on, and after, obviously, Nick has killed the 2 Daleks, it's like, the Doctor is like, okay, so this time they keep feeding on the information we give them. We give them false information on the penultimate one, and then we put our real plan into action on the final one. We have the split second, the millisecond, to get this right. So they do that, and obviously Jeff comes into it, and Jeff is the one to save them. Like, his radiation fireworks stuff is the thing to save the day. And Dan outs Yaz to the Doctor that Yaz loves her. And I know a lot of people don't like this decision, but Dan is coming from a nice place. I know you shouldn't get into relationships, but especially in high school, there's been a lot of that, in high school, you like someone but you don't want to say it to them, and then time passes you by. You either leave school or they find someone else. It's happened to me, it's happened to my friends, I've seen it. And I'm sure it's either happened to you or a person you know. And so it's best to if they say no, that's the worst thing they could have done. Just, what's the worst? Laugh in your face, really? They can't even do that because you say you find them attractive. So what's the worst thing they can do? Say no? To Yaz, it's a big thing because she's giving up the universe, but again, what can the Doctor do? What, just say, sorry, I don't feel that way? Hopefully, the Doctor is thinking of the times with Rose and River that she had. Especially in What School Reunion, and that clip of saying, Rose was like, why did he never go back for Sarah Jane? And he's like, just watch the clip. It's amazing on why the Doctor doesn't feel like he can be in a relationship. Again, the first 2 episodes where River Song is shown, and then she dies first time she meets him. That the Doctor meets River. It's just, those are 2 of the best reasons on why I think the Doctor hasn't explained it to Yaz. Anyway, Jeff's stuff eventually saves the day, and it's a really great moment as we see Sarah talk to her mum. That's why the Daleks exterminate the stuff that eventually kills them. There's this guy that sees the fireworks, and it looks like the guy from Jodie's first episode. Maybe you know that. Let me know down in the comments below if you think that guy who sees the fireworks and is like, oh, just for me then. I think he's from Jodie's first episode where Tim Shaw wanted him as a human trophy. But anyway, And we see that once the Daleks are all dead and everyone else is safe, that Nick and Sarah are kind of like on their first date, and it's really cute. And the Doctor and Yaz and Dan go off in search of a lost treasure. And credits roll. Unfortunately, I'm only going to give this episode, I'm going to do a rank out of 10, a 4. It's not a great episode. There are worse episodes, but then again, there are a lot better episodes. And really, I didn't want this to be a standalone episode. I want it to be standalone when Russell T Davies takes over, because I want people like my parents, my mum and dad, because they didn't watch they watched some of the Flux, but they didn't watch the series before, so they didn't really understand it. And I want to watch it with my parents. I want new fans, like my younger cousins, to get an interest in Doctor Who, even people I don't know. I want there to be a fan base for Doctor Who. I want them to enjoy it. But Chris Chibnall needs to wrap this up. Have it as a nice ending on the Division and the Doctor's past lives. Unfortunately, this episode is only a 4 out of 10, but I can't wait to see Jodie's next 2 specials, and hopefully they are going to be great. Anyway, let me know what you think, what you would give a ranking of this episode down in the comments below. Also, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.